It's just a chicanery. They're just used to kind of skewing things and not using facts. So they just say random shit and you're just supposed to accept it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of what they expect from black people in these leftist spaces. They don't want people who are going to think critically. They don't want people who are going to think beyond this handful of policies that the left wants at any cost. Right. And it's to the point where these folks are aggressively harming us. All right.
Yep.
And they don't realize it or they don't care.
They realize it. No,
I'm
they
leaning
realize
towards
it.
the latter. I'm leaning towards the latter. You know, even some of them. I remember talking to the folks in when I first started moving towards reparations. Their thing was, let's get these basic policies done, and then we'll start talking about reparations once we start the healing.
Yeah, right.
In some ways, that is logical. But if you're not going to discuss it now and say, okay, let's get to reparations later, within the discussion, that means you're going to ignore me later. So fuck you. We're going to go first and then you go. Otherwise, your shit falls apart. End of story.
Practically, sorry to use that word again. When you start a conversation with someone, you start somewhere.
Right.
You start somewhere. So I'm thinking of this fellow whose name escapes me, but he was famous for having converted a number of Ku Klux Klan members to not being Klan members anymore. And he had like 17 of these outfits in his
door, you motherfucker. Why do we keep talking about white people's hearts and minds? I got 4 white god sisters. My godmother used to watch. My godmother and my godmother and her husband, they used to listen to Rush Limbaugh all the time when I was growing up. We would go places and she called me her daughter. Like, my white sisters still tell people about when I did music videos. They talk about their black sister all the time. But if you talk to them sometimes, you would probably think they're a little racist. But they don't hate black people. They're just kind of poor white trash. And they don't really understand the race thing like that because they're poor white trash. They've been through a bunch of shit them damn selves. So it's just different. Like, I would have to seriously sit down and have real conversations with them about race.
But Sam, I think, I'm sorry, but part of the problem is America and our education system is one of the biggest misinformation campaigns about black people in human history, right? So knowing that, wouldn't it make her project, Bree Joy's project of these class issues being taken care of, wouldn't it help her project to educate people about what has happened and why people think the way they think? To my mind, it would make it easier for them to come forward. I'm sorry, Sam, go ahead.
No, I agree with the education piece, but I don't think we should educate adults. Like, I think adults should educate themselves, right? So
that's fair.
I didn't learn all this Black history shit in school. I went to private school until I was in the 8th grade. And after that, I went into the public school education system. Everything I've learned about Black history on a real level, everything that I've learned about Black history on a real level, I have learned myself through choice, through me wanting to learn. That's what adults do. Kids are the ones that should be introduced to information and should be taught. So again, they focus on the policy. That's really what I'm trying to say. And the only policy that Black Americans really want is reparations. After that, do the class shit. Stop trying to tell us class shit is our reparations. It's not. It's 2 separate things. So you need to do both and shut the fuck up.
Outfits in his closet, because every time they left the Klan, they would give it to him, and it was kind of like a notch on his belt, this Black guy. And when interviewed and asked, how do you do it? He says, well, I start by asking them to come and sit down and have a Coke with me. And I ask them if they have kids, and I say, I have kids, and we talk about our kids, and they realize that I love my child, and I'm a father, and I'm a parent. We have this very basic thing in common. Now, I wouldn't accuse that man of being indifferent to racism, not caring about racism, trying to hide the fact that obviously what's driving him is a desire to decouple these men from their conscription into a virulently racist sect, right? But the step one isn't for him practically, hi, you're a Klan member, you're racist, stop, I hate you, which everyone would have every justification to say to anybody.
Again, who the fuck is doing this? I talked to many of white people on the Twitter during the elections. And I don't just remember going around to random white people who had said nothing wrong, just saying you're a fucking racist and I hate you, do reparations. I don't remember those being the conversations I was having with white people. Not most of them, but a lot of you Bernie supporters was telling me to take my nigga ass back to Africa, or I could have reparations when I took my nigga ass back to Africa, or niggas should go back to Africa and then maybe we'll continue. It was some iteration of that, but there was a lot of niggas coming from the left, the progressive, the white, liberal, progressive racists. Y'all got a lot of racists in your tent.
But they make room for those folks, right? That's part of the problem here.
It's a big ass clown car on purpose.
Yeah, they are so dogged about making space for those people that they're ruining opportunities to move forward, right? And I mean, and that is what it is. And if they're not ready to tackle this stuff, it's not going to go anywhere. But a handful of folks will get paid, a handful of folks will get good jobs, a handful of folks, will move on with their lives, and we'll still be in the same spot if we allow this to continue. And it is what it is. I'm sorry you went through that, Sam. That didn't happen to me. They kicked me off Twitter, so so they had to deal with me.
What's funny? I didn't get kicked off Twitter till I started making nice with the white people. As soon as when all that BLM, we stand with black people shit started, I was like, okay, you stand with black people, but will you stand with black people for reparations? I got away with that shit for like 2 weeks. I got too many white people jumping on board. I had a few companies jump on board. They shut me down. They shut a bitch down like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's why I got shut down, because a handful of people were listening to me, right? And that makes me a problem.
No, a handful of white people were
a handful of white people on the left were listening to me.
You get black people listening to you all day. When you start getting too many white people listening, they shut you down.
Yeah, I had to go. Yeah, I was a problem. That's all right. I'm still pretty. Damn them. John, Mud, what you got? Let's go with John first. Sorry, Mud.
Yeah, man, word. They tried to banish MG. That shit was. They really.
That's all right. We got an eyewitness here. John's an eyewitness.
The anti-black red rose races that Sam and y'all talking, MG talk, that shit real, man.
I love that, man. Red rose races.
And the word of the red rose races is fucking horrible, man. But me and Sam was talking about this shit, how like we seen that Jimmy Dore video we was like, this is a problem, man. This is a fucking problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like he won't advocate for reparations. So he just bring this Klan man on, talking about we all human beings. So,
I'm a Klan man.
So we should all get together with and all this other stuff. Like he crying, talking about he had to fight for the black kid on the black top. Because he was black when he was 8 years old. Like, what the fuck is this shit? What this shit got to do with this thing got nothing to do with nothing. Like, we starving out here. We need our bread. Jimmy, what are you talking about? Like,
and he's out there changing one heart and mind at a time.
If Jimmy Dore came to my school, we was elementary school, man, them little black kids would have told Jimmy Dore up. He would have came with that bullshit. But that's another story. That's just some funny shit to say. But like, what does that have to do with anything though? You know what I mean? Like this is the shit. And then she want to bring this shit up like she had to talk to the Klansmen. That's a waste of time to me. We got to put political pressure to get political solutions for our problems. Like, fuck convincing the Klansmen. I'm not, come on, man. What the left doing, man? Look, just being racist as ever. Look, banish MG, call Sam all kinds of. Again, this shit is terrible. They the worst, man.
It's all gravy, but I think John brings up a good point. As far as how the left does this, she's talking about that one guy that occasionally goes to talk to Klan guys about life and da 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 da. We're looking for broad policy. It's funny that she focuses on this one piece, but everything else she talks about is broad policy, right? But he talks about this one guy who talks to Klan people and talks them out of their hood, right? Which
Which
is cool.
is symbolic. It's cool, but it's still symbolic, right? I guess it's like
It's not even symbolic. It's anecdotal, maximum.
It is,
You know
right?
what I mean? You know, and it doesn't really get us anywhere as a people, as a country, right? Because not everybody's going to respond to that the same way. And this nonsense that she's talking about is one individual doing his one individual thing, and that's his mission in life. Good for him, right? The way he tackles that is not how policy should be tackled at the state and federal level. It's just not, right? That's all I got. I'm sorry. Mud, what you got, man?
No, I totally agree, but I think Eddie Glaude opened the door for this because he made it about changing hearts and minds. So he jumps to this example of this dude running around changing the hearts and minds of Klans members, and she's trying to act like this is what our politics are. When in actuality, if we're going to use the comparison, instead of talking to a white guy about your kids to kind of find common ground, I guess we're going to have this conversation with the government about redlining. You know, we're going to have the conversation with the government about like things that no other group has actually experienced. So it's not going to be like this whole thing, this whole comparison falls apart. It's silly. But this is the problem. Like Eddie Glaude should have made it about, okay, we have systematic racism in this country. It has produced certain outcomes generation after generation. We need policy to resolve that. That's the conversation. That's the real conversation that needs to be had. And if you're not willing to have that conversation, you might as well team up with Bree and just agree, to do some class shit, because you're not really talking about doing anything either.